Dave, we did our first Amonkhet draft yesterday.
We absolutely did.
We're a pair of scrubs.
We are.
How did it go?
It went pretty well.
It
All
did.
things considered, yeah.
Couldn't have gone any better, technically.
No, it was a very successful draft for Team Thriving Scrubs.
Yeah.
We turned up, we got really lucky, and then we went home with more packs than we deserved.
Yeah. We were in the same pod, so we can all win.
No.
I went 3-0.
I went 2-1.
Your only loss was to me.
Exactly.
Success!
Yeah, a victory all across the board. But I think we've agreed the first thing we're going to do, just to kick off before we start talking about the draft we did, was to crack a for real actual Amonkhet Magic the Gathering 15 card booster pack.
I'm holding it here in my hand. Fortunately, we're older than 13. It's got a Ketra on it.
It does have a catcher on it, so
So it
that
should be
bodes well.
good.
Alright, so we're going to go through every card, one by one. We're going to say which one we would pick if this was a draft.
Supply Caravan.
And what does Supply Caravan
Supply
do?
Caravan costs 4 and a white. It's a 3/5. When Supply Caravan enters the battlefield, if you control a tapped creature, create a 1/1 white warrior creature token with Vigilance.
This card's alright.
It's alright,
I ran it at pre-release, I ran it in my draft, it's fine, but I'm not first picking it.
You're not. Floodwaters costs 4 and 2 blue. It's a sorcery. Return up to 2 target creatures to their owner's hands, and it cycles for 2.
Again, similarly, I think this is a good card, but I don't particularly want to first pick it. It's got cycling, which is nice.
As ever, yeah, cycling makes this card much better than it would be without cycling. Scarab Feast costs 1 black for an instant. Exile up to 3 target cards from a single graveyard, and it cycles for a black mana.
I mean, if you're doing the cycling thing, you want this.
Yeah.
But if you're first picking this, then you're going all in real quick there. So
It would be an odd first pick.
yeah.
Yeah, there are decks that just want cards that cycle. They don't really care what's written on the card.
Yeah, but I feel like they'll get their copies of Scarab Feast.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need to prioritise that.
Slitherblade costs a blue mana.
This pack is awful.
It's pretty bad so far. It's a 1/2 and it can't be blocked. People play this card.
People were
won't.
playing it at pre-release.
I'm not gonna.
I mean, you could whack a cartouche on it, swing for 2, and then you've played yourself by doing that. But
Yeah, you got a 20-turn clock from the start.
this looks like a contender.
Compulsory Rest costs 1 and a white. It's an enchantment aura. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature can't attack or block. Enchanted creature has 2. Sacrifice this creature. You gain 2 life.
We were both running this yesterday, weren't we?
Yeah, I will happily pick up this card. It's obviously not as good as Pacifism, because the controller of the creature can sack it and gain 2 life as and when it suits them.
And it makes it worse against Embalm as well, as when you're facing Embalm, the card doesn't look as good.
No.
It's still fine. Like, they still have to pay the mana to sack it, and
Yeah.
then pay the mana to get the creature back, so it's fine. But
It's the pick so far.
yeah, definitely. Right now I'm slamming that.
Haze of Pollen costs 1 and a green. It's an instant. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn, and it cycles for 3.
This should cycle for less. If it cycled for less, this card would actually be pretty playable.
Yeah.
Someone played this against me yesterday, but it didn't. You know, it was one of those where I was already winning, so the fog, it didn't really do much for them. You know, it stopped a turn of damage, but it didn't help them get any further ahead.
Doesn't progress the board at
I'm
all.
pretty down on fogs, especially as a first pick. That's not on.
Cartouche of Zeal costs a red mana. It is an aura cartouche. Enchant creature you control. When Cartouche of Zeal enters the battlefield, target creature can't block this turn. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has haste. It's the Goblin Heel Cutter cartouche.
Yeah, it's not as good as Goblin Heel Cutter, and it's not as good as the other cartouches, but together, by their powers combined, you have something quite special.
Do we agree that this is probably the weakest cartouche of the 5?
Probably, yeah. I think so.
We'll talk about the white one because I was running it yesterday. And
It is the cheapest,
I was
though,
surprised.
notably.
Oh, the white one costs 1 white.
Does it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Owned Kopesh costs 1 mana. It's an artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1. Equip 1.
Fine.
You know,
I haven't played it yet, have you?
no.
I haven't seen anyone play it.
No.
Cards like this are sometimes good in sealed.
It
You
is
get
a cheaper
formats.
rate than Veteran Sidearm, right?
Yeah, and you do get formats where this effect is really, really strong.
Yes.
I don't know if Amonkhet is that format, to be honest.
No, it seems to me that this is not a format where the +1/+1 bonus is going to be enough to cut it every time, because there are some decks that just go large, there are some decks that fly.
Yeah, I mean,
It's quite varied.
I do like having cards like this if you're playing sealed and you've got a bunch of flyers, just because moving it between your ground blocker and your flyer can be quite nice, and the cost there's pretty cheap. But still, yeah, we're not picking that over compulsory rest.
No. Oashra Cultivator. It's the first time I've said that card out loud. Costs a green for a 0/3. You can pay 2 and a green, tap it and sack it. To search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library.
So I think the point of this card is to kill it with -1/-1 counters, right? So it's a one mana creature that you can splurge a bunch of counters on when you play a green 2-drop or something.
Yeah. There are like the Spring to Mind decks that want to be playing 3 or 4 colours, but
again, you're going to see these. These were going really late yesterday for good reason.
We're on to our uncommons, and we start with a good one, Deem Worthy.
Nice.
Costs 4 and a red. It's an instant. Deem Worthy deals 7 damage to target creature. You can cycle it for 3 and a red. When you cycle Deem Worthy, you may have it deal 2 damage to target creature.
This card's great.
This card's
pick. I haven't played with or against it yet, but it's really strong.
I have played against it, and both modes are very good. At instant speed, it's powerful. 7 damage kills every creature in the format, other than Glyph Keeper and the Hexproof green
and any indestructible
big thing.
creatures.
Yeah, and gods.
you can't just base your removal around whether or not it gets rid of a god.
No, I don't. So that's the pick for me. I think that's better than Compulsory Rest.
So far, yeah, no, I'd pick Deem Worthy over Compulsory Rest for sure. Oh, hello.
Devoted Cropmate is next. Costs 2 and a white for a 3/2. You may exert Devoted Cropmate as it attacks. When you do, return target creature card with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield.
I like cards like this. I really like this effect. I think if Deem Worthy wasn't in the pack, I might be thinking about this over Compulsory Rest. Yeah, I think if you're going for that sort of white aggressive build, cards like this are so good.
It would have been very good in my deck.
And yeah, the deck.
To be fair,
I ran against a deck playing this yesterday, and it was just, while it was out, I just constantly had to be looking at their graveyard, being like, what could they get back? This thing is threatening to just get them value.
Do you think it's better or worse than Renegade Rallier?
I think it's worse than Renegade Rallier, but it's definitely easier to cast.
Certainly, yes.
And you can
it's a
play
safer first pick.
And you can play it in all your white decks. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Ooh, cheeky. Flameblade Adept costs a red mana for a 1/2 with Menace. Whenever you cycle or discard a card, Flameblade Adept gets +1/+0 until end of turn.
Now, I also played against this card yesterday,
Alright.
and it sucked.
Really?
It is not a good limited card.
Okay.
The amount of effort you have to put in to make this worthwhile is significant. I guess if you're super aggressive in red, then maybe it's got a place, but my opponent was playing an aggressive red-black deck, and this card just didn't cut it.
Do you think this is a card that you would you want to be picking only when it's been like 5th or 6th pick, and you know that you're definitely cycling every single turn?
You can pick it up late and feel okay about it, but I don't like picking it early. Alright, so what's our rare then?
Our rare is a mythic rare.
Alright.
It is Nissa, Steward of Elements.
Nice.
It costs X mana, 1 green mana, and 1 blue mana for a planeswalker called Nissa. Comes out with X loyalty. +2, scry 2. 0. Look at the top card of your library. If it is a land card or a creature card with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of loyalty counters on Nissa, Steward of Elements, you may put that card onto the battlefield. One day I will say all of that without stuttering.
I don't think you will. I think we should make you read this card every episode.
-6, untap up to 2 target lands you control. They become 5/5 elemental creatures with flying and haste until end of turn. They're still lands. Well, that's a good card.
That's a good card. I mean, the question now is,
if we're being sensible here...
Yeah, where are we? Are we at F&M, or are we at anything even remotely important?
Yeah.
I think we're at F&M, right? In which case you slam Nissa.
You slam Nissa all day long. I don't. To be honest, I'm not sure, if you're not excited about the value of these cards. It's still between Deem Worthy and Nissa.
Yeah. I mean, Compulsory Rest, I could see, like, if you really, really like playing white decks, and if you feel more comfortable playing white decks, there is an argument for sort of leaning towards them, but I think it's a mistake in this case, because you got Deem Worthy and Nissa, which are both better cards.
Yes.
Nissa's the riskier pick, because, you know, it's... But picking it first... does mean you get the potential to pick up the fixing you need to splash it. Yeah, it's really easy to splash if you're in one of those two colours.
Exactly. And you can expect Weaver of Currences and Bounty of Luxus to go round the table, because people aren't going to be taking that 2-colour risk straight off. So it could pay off, but it is more risky. It's what I'd pick, because it's just more fun to play.
The professional and, the brave pick, I think, is Deem Worthy. Did I just see, is there a foil in the pack as well?
I'm afraid there is. This isn't over. This
is not over.
We have a foil Dread Wanderer, which costs a black mana for a 2/1. Dread Wanderer enters the battlefield tapped. You can pay 2 and a black to return Dread Wanderer from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate this ability only any time you could cast a sorcery, and only if you have 1 or fewer cards in hand. I think we can write Dread Wanderer
It's
off.
not in contention, but it's cool. So yeah, it's between Nissa and Deemworthy. I think if you want to maximise your chances of winning the draft, Deemworthy's probably the pick. But if you're a human being who is excited to open a Nissa, you just slam the Nissa.
You just take Nissa, yeah. You don't look at the rest of the cards, to be honest.
Yeah, you just throw them on the ground. All right.
My first pick was not anywhere near as good as Deemworthy or Nissa yesterday.
God, neither was mine. Yeah, why don't you go through your draft, like notable moments there, and then I'll cover a few things that happened in mine.
Sure. Well, I opened an Anointed Procession, which I have a complex relationship with at the moment.
Yeah,
Anointed
episode 1 we go over it briefly, don't we?
Yeah, it's a rare enchantment that costs 3 and a white, and it reads: if an effect would create a number of tokens under your control, it creates twice that many instead.
So it's the best rare in the set.
Yeah, it did destroy me at pre-release, but I think similar to Flameblade Adept, it's a card that you pick 5th or 6th when you're like, okay, the picks I've made thus far mean that this card might work. You don't want to pick this card and then force yourself to be embalming. It just so happened that I did end up in a heavy embalm deck, and it would have been kind of good.
Yeah.
But I first picked True Heart Duelist over it. Which is an uncommon. It costs 1 and a white for a 2/2. True Heart Duelist can block an additional creature each combat, and it embalms for 2 and a white. It just struck me as a solid little card. I'm a big fan of the embalm mechanic in general, and I had heard that this format was quite quick. You could afford to be quite aggressive, and I thought taking a 2/2 that returns would be a good way to start. I was then past Aketra's Attendant, which costs 3 and 2 white for a 3/3 bird soldier with flying. It cycles for 2 mana, and it embalms for 3 and 2 white.
So that's interesting because you're in white because those were just the cards that were coming, right? Mm-hmm. But neither of them are like spectacular, like windmill slam white cards, are they? It's not like you first picked a cast out and we're just like, all right, yeah, that's fine. I'm totally happy with that.
No, I mean, in both, certainly in the second pack, Aketra's Attendant was the best card. The rare had gone. And taking 2 white embalmers, taking Aketra's Attendant, which I think might be slightly undervalued by some people. I think the cycling is a massive bonus because it's a card that shores up your drawers, and if you have it in your opening hand and your hand looks a wee bit sketchy, you can think, all right, well, I'm going to cycle this Attendant, draw my land, and then later embalm it. And if you don't cycle it, you just, the embalm cost is the same as the converted mana cost, so it's a pretty good card to get back. I then saw a tremendous amount of white as the pack went on, and very late into the pack, I think with about 5 cards left, I got an Avon Initiate passed to me, which costs 3 and a blue for a 3/2 bird warrior with flying, which embalms for 6 and a blue. As a commons go, it's pretty good. And
definitely.
To see it that late, I was excited. I then, with 3 cards left in the pack, saw Cartouche of Knowledge, which costs 1 and a blue for an Aura Cartouche. Enchant creature you control. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Enchanted creature has +1/+1 and has flying. So at
the blue was flowing?
The blue was definitely flowing. The white...
Like a river? Like perhaps a significant river?
It was bounteous, yes, it was. So I was pretty... I think the draft wasn't a difficult one for me to navigate. White felt pretty open from the start, and towards the end of pack 1, I just saw some blue that made me think I should be moving in. And Cartouche of Knowledge isn't a blue card that every blue deck wants, of course.
No, but it's still a good one.
But it's one that I wanted. Certainly as my first pick of pack 2 was a Vizier of Many Faces, which costs 2 and 2 blue for a 0/0 Shapeshifter Cleric. You may have Vizier of Many Faces enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except if Vizier of Many Faces was embalmed, the token has no mana cost, it's white, and it's a zombie in addition to its other types. It embalms for 3 and 2 blue.
I thought it embalmed for 5 and 2 blue, really? So that surprised me when you pointed that out yesterday. That is a good rate.
It is, yeah.
It's a strong card. And how was it? Did it crush?
It It didn't. The thing is, there aren't actually many bigger creatures in my deck, and I wasn't fortunate enough for my opponents to play greater sandworms or anything.
Yeah.
It copied True Heart Duelist once. It copied, I believe, it copied an Aven Initiate once. It also copied the card that it was my third pick in Pack 3, was Glorybound Initiate. Which costs,
white was hella open.
Oh yeah,
crazy open.
1 and a white for a 3/1 human warrior. You may exert Glorybound Initiate as it attacks. When you do, it gets +1/+3 and gains lifelink until end of turn. So it's a 2-mana 4/4 lifelinker.
Ish. Yeah. Close enough, sure, why not?
But I did have a few ways in this deck to untap it or to give it vigilance, at which point you really are laughing.
Yeah. I think you did that against me once, and it was, I very nearly, just broke down crying.
I got a foil cast out in there as well. So the draft did go pretty nicely for me. I think the three players drafting to my right, none of them were in white. I think one was in blue, and I reaped the rewards of that. I was lucky that my first pick was white, I think.
Okay, fair enough.
How did it go for you?
Mine went a little bit differently, to be honest. My draft was a bit tricky. There were a few things that didn't quite work out how I wanted them to. So my first pick did not make my deck at all.
Mm-hmm.
My first pick was Heartpiercer Manticore, partly because it was my rare, and I thought, maybe I'll pick some rares, try some stuff out.
For science?
Yeah, not for value. I don't think anyone's... Heartpiercer Manticore, which, I'll read now. It's a Manticore creature. It's a 4/3 for 2 red, so it's a Summit Prowler.
Sure.
And when Heartpiercer Manticore enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice another creature. When you do, Heartpiercer Manticore deals damage equal to that creature's power to target creature or player.
Okay.
And then it embalms for 5 and a red. So it's an interesting one to first pick, I thought, because maybe I can actually do some quite cool stuff with this.
Yeah. There aren't many red cards that embalm, correct?
No, there aren't. I think this is one of the few I can think of.
I can't actually think of any
This
others.
might be the only one.
We haven't done the research.
We haven't done the research, and we never will.
No.
Don't expect that from
Tell
us.
us in the comments.
But yeah, what research have you done? Heartpiercer Manticore was my first pick, and then I second picked. My second pick was actually a cast out. So I got passed out from the player to my right, and it was just the best card in the pack. So I went, okay, sure, cast out sounds good. I could go red-white with this, or if red doesn't work out, I've got that white option there. But then I got past Decimator Beetle. And this was an interesting thing for me, because I know the common knowledge is not to pick double-coloured cards very early.
Yeah.
Because you don't know you're going to be in both of those colours. But there's also the counterpoint that if it's worth the risk, if the payoff is worth the risk, it can be worth taking something like this early. So I did take Decimator Beetle, which is the 3 black and a green. We've spoken about it a few times.
We have.
Whenever it enters the battlefield, you put a -1/-1 counter on target creature you control. And when it attacks, you remove a -1/-1 counter from one of your creatures, and you put a -1/-1 counter on one of your opponent's creatures. It has to be the defending opponent. Commander players, pay attention. I picked that and was hoping it would work out. And
it's a 4/5.
It's a 4/5, yeah. And black was flowing in that draft. I ended up with quite a lot of black cards. But unfortunately, my plans to sort of shift into black-green, I made a few steps that way, but it didn't really work out. So at the end of pack 1, I was very heavily into black. I had some good black removal spells, some decent black creatures. But I was partly green, partly red, unsure what my second colour really was. And then pack 2, I opened Regal Caracal, which again, one we've discussed a few times. 3 white, cat creature, 3/3. When it enters, you make 2 1/1 cats, and all your other cats have +1/+1 and lifelink.
Yeah.
So it's that's a bomb rare. So I thought, all right, I'll slam that and see what happens. And pack 2, I think partly, I wasn't seeing much white pack 1 probably because
I was
of
eating
you.
it. Yeah, I was eating it all
pack 2, I was getting loads and loads of white. So I was completely happy with the amount of black I had. I was like, okay, I've got a relatively strong black base here. I can afford just to get 1 pack of white.
Yes.
So I picked up a few other good white cards, a compulsory rest, bits of removal, some average creatures, nothing particularly exceptional, a sacred cat for the combo, just a few decent white cards, and then early on in pack 3 I got a Glorybound Initiate as well, which means between the two of us, over the course of one pre-release that we both attended and one draft, we've got a playset of Glorybound Initiates.
One of which is foil.
So Glorybound Initiate is our mascot now.
Yeah.
So I had one of them as well. And my deck, it worked out okay, but because there was that sort of umming and ahhing about being green-black during pack 1, I missed a few picks that could have been useful, so my deck ended up being fine. It's got some good bombs in it. I mean, we'll put both the deck lists in the description, so you can have a good look through the whole deck list on Tapped Out. I believe we'll also have some images on the video if I get my act together.
That's your responsibility.
Like, comment, subscribe for more pictures. And,
I think by the sounds of it, you had a less fortunate seat than me, and you sort of tried to draft it as well as you could. Like I
did my best. I think I could have done better.
I didn't have any pick that was like, oh, maybe I should be in this color. It was basically, I'm in white. Good, I'm in white. Oh, I should be in blue. Okay, well that went pretty smoothly for me. I think the Decimator Beetle pick is completely fair. A speculative pick like that is fine as long as you're willing to abandon it.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out, which is what it sounds like you did. So.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I bailed. I looked at the end of, I think it was the end of pack 2, and saw, no, I've got no green. It might be the end of pack 1 even. Just, no, my green, I've got 2 good green cards. I don't think this is going to work out.
Fair enough.
So that was the draft. You're Mr. 3-0, Mr. Wins the Pod over here.
Indeed.
So why don't you tell us how you won the pod?
I won the pod, in game 1 I won the pod by having flyers. Mm-hmm. My opponent was playing green-white and didn't have any flyers, nor any real bombs. They sat down and sort of said draft didn't go spectacularly for me. So I just won with flyers. Game 2 was against you, and I won because you flooded twice.
I did flood twice. I flooded pretty hard.
You had a fan bearer, and that was it.
Yeah, game 2 was the best game, because my opening hand in game 2 was, I think, 5 lands, a fan bearer, and a cast out. And I thought, all right, I can make this work. I'm in theory not just going to draw lands. Fan bearer can gum up the ground, and if there's anything I'm certain of, fan bearer gummed up the ground.
Oh, it certainly did.
Fan bearer sat there just turn after turn, just ruining your plans.
Saved you about 15 points of damage, I think.
I was never anything but behind in that game, but fan bearer did its utmost to make sure that I wasn't dying. It just kept me going.
Game 3 was against a 3-colour deck. It was a Bant deck that was janky but powerful. It played Pyramid of the Pantheon on turn 1, both games. It went to time, and I won the game 1-0. Pyramid of the Pantheon is an interesting one. It's one that people... I don't know, are people divided, or do people generally seem to think it's not where you want to be?
I think, particularly for Limited, it's one of those weird cards that takes ages to do anything.
Yes.
So...
You have to sort of make sacrifices for 3 turns in order to...
But then it's got the upside of being able to... It's for 1 drop, right? You can cast it for 1.
Yeah.
Which I believe you mentioned earlier, your opponent played it turn 1 both games.
Yeah, Pyramid,
which is the dream.
It is the dream, and they still didn't win those games. Pyramid of the Pantheon costs 1 mana for an artifact. You tap it for 2. You pay 2 and tap it, rather, to add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool, put a brick counter on it, and then you can tap it to add 3 mana of any 1 colour to your mana pool, but you can only activate this ability if there are 3 or more brick counters on Pyramid of the Pantheon. So you have to, you take turn 2 off to, on turn 2 you only have 1 mana.
You could play a Sacred Cat.
You could, so yeah, it's...
or it's a fan bearer.
And in game 2, they had kind of the dream, which was Pyramid of the Pantheon and Vizier of Tumbling Sands, which meant they could activate it more than once a turn, and once they had all the brick counters on it, they could tap it for 6 mana every turn. And then they started playing Glyph Keepers and Hieroglyphic Illuminations, and just sort of spammed the board really, really quickly, and still didn't win. So
no. Well, I saw the end of your second game, and that board state was crazy. There was all sorts of stuff out. There were more permanents on that board state than I think. In my average game, there were not that many permanents out. It was just trading. It was really sort of back and forth, attrition-y.
I won the game due to 2 cards. I had a fair amount of Exert creatures, and I played a Trial of Solidarity, which is an enchantment that costs 2 and a white, and when it enters, creatures you control gain +2/+1 and gain Vigilance until end of turn. Obviously, when you play a cartouche, you return the trial to your hand. And I believe at that time I had a Glorybound Initiate, a Gust Walker, and a Tarkrop Elite, and maybe some crappy 2-drop. I can exert all of those cards, and none of them tap. They all have Vigilance, and I swung for a tremendous amount of damage. At one point I did go from 1 life to 16 life.
Yeah.
Because Vizier of Many Faces had copied my Glorybound Initiate.
Was that in the second game?
Yeah. The game went on forever and ever.
Yeah. That's close.
Yeah, it was. It was
That could have been a
tremendously
draw
close.
then.
Easily.
If you had one less life point from any other interaction, that would have been it.
The last card I want to talk about is Open into Wonder, which again I think I got past very late, and I haven't played with this card. I hadn't played with this card, but I thought it looked good.
I've got some opinions on this card, so go ahead, fire away.
It costs X and 2 blue for a sorcery. X target creatures can't be blocked this turn. Until end of turn, those creatures gain, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card.
Yeah. So obviously a very strong effect.
Yes.
The effect of the card is powerful. But like quite a few cards in this set, it seems, there is some setup that's required. If you want to do the really broken stuff in this set, you have to, you have to have certain things accomplished. So for a card like this, it has to be sensible for you to be able to attack.
Yes.
So you have to be a little bit ahead, because you can't use this if you're woefully behind. I mean, you could in like a last-ditch effort to draw an answer.
Yeah.
But it's not that good if you're losing.
It's
so good when you're winning. It's like...
Well, it's not... I don't know if it's... I don't think it's a win more. It certainly doesn't go in every blue deck. I cast it twice. Once I cast it targeting 2 flyers.
Yeah.
And my opponent had no flyers or reaches. I just cast this as a 4-mana draw 2.
Just to draw 2, yeah.
Which isn't terrible. And then in the third match, I cast it... They had a Glyph Keeper out. They had an Aven Initiate. They had bigger creatures than me. I cast it targeting 4 creatures and drew 4 cards.
Yeah, no, in a stalled board as well. Like, I bet, did you have any sort of in the third match rather, against the Bant opponent? Is that when you managed to cast it? Yeah, because looking at how that match was going with the amount of permanents that were out, I can see this being a really big deal.
Yeah.
Then again, it's one of those ones. I think it's very good. Like, don't get me wrong, the effect is powerful, but I think it's something that's really easy to look at and again only imagine the situations where it is good.
I think that's true.
And sort of negate any sort of other things.
I knew that, I had 5 2-drop creatures and a Sacred Cat, no less.
Yeah.
And even if you're only targeting flyers, that they can't block anyway, you're still drawing cards off these creatures.
Yeah.
So I was pretty confident that I could make it work. And that and Trial of Solidarity were kind of the only non-creature spells I really bothered with. Those and a cast out and a compulsory rest. Just absolutely beat down my opponent. If you make all of your exert creatures unblockable, you can exert them all. Tarkrop Elite is a very powerful common. And Gustwalker as well, I think. Obviously only in an aggressive deck. It's a 2-drop that turns into a 3/3 flyer when you need it to, or just smashes in there.
You had the good 2-drops.
I did. I prioritised them, in fact.
And just to reiterate, went 3-0. Well done.
Hey, thank you very much.
That's the sound of one man clapping.
Mm-hmm.
So it went really well for you. We've kind of given away how it went for me in the nature of me going 2-1 and then I lost to you, but I'll talk about the other games. So round 1 I played against an opponent who was playing a really aggressive red-black deck with the Minotaur, the legendary Minotaur.
Neheb the Worthy.
I mean, we could go through his effects, but I'll tell you right away that both times he was played, I had Cast Out in hand and cast him out immediately. So it's not like it had any impact. I knew it had effects, and I read them and thought, "Ooh, that sounds a bit much." We'll put a picture up. You can read him.
Yeah.
But I thought, no, none of that. So managed to have the Cast Out both times, which is very fortunate.
I did cast out an Aketra actually in match 3 as well. That was a big swing.
Yeah, so I got completely run over game 1, I think, actually. Yeah, game 1, I got completely crushed. My hand was too slow, his hand was too quick. My deck really needed a bit of time to get going. I had some 1-drops, but none of them were aggressive, nor were many of my 2-drops. It was very much get to my sort of later stuff, get Regal Caracal out, get some flyers out. It wasn't a quick deck.
Yes.
So I got completely run over. But then the next 2 games, through a combination of him not drawing particularly well and me drawing all my answers and having them in hand, it just worked out right. I gained life when I needed to, got some flyers in, managed to sort of just answer his threats just enough to get in with my little guys. So it worked out in the end. Sided in June Beetle against him from my sideboard.
Lovely.
I definitely should have been main decking June Beetle over Laybear the Heart, which I was.
Yes, I would say so.
Laybear the Heart is the worst card in my deck and is a sorcery that costs 1 and a black. Target opponent reveals their hand, and you take a non-legendary, non-land card from their hand. So I sided that out because the only card I wanted to take from him was Neheb, who is legendary. So definitely should have been main decking June Beetle. That's that's a mistake I made. Then match 2 was against you.
Yeah.
I got crushed. I saw all my lands, which is nice.
They were pretty.
I couldn't have asked for more mana. I was spoiled for choice.
Yeah.
So that was nice. And then round 3 was against a green-white deck that was running. The best card in that deck was the name escapes me. It's the white-green split card. Prepare to Fight.
Oh, I came up against Prepare to Fight. Yeah.
Prepare to Fight is a very strong card. So the first side of it, the Prepare side, is an instant. It costs 1 and a white. Target creature gets +2/+2 and lifelink until end of turn. Untap that creature.
Yes.
Which is insane when you've got Exerters. He got a massive swing in against me with that.
Yeah.
And then the fight side of it, you've already cast a really efficient 2-mana pump spell. Like, that's a lot for a 2-mana pump spell to do.
Yeah.
And then you can either, if you've got the mana, you can either then fight with your lifelinker, or as was the case when I was playing against it, just later on you've just got a fight card chilling in your graveyard.
Yeah.
Which was just annoying to play around because I knew he had these options. My standout card actually against the green-white deck, which I haven't mentioned yet, but my standout card was Pitiless Vizier, which is 3 and a black for a Minotaur Cleric. It's a 4/2, and whenever you cycle or discard a card, Pitiless Vizier gains indestructible until end of turn.
Mm-hmm.
Got him out turn 4, and then every turn subsequently, I just had some cycling cards in my hand that I was happy to hold on to, and it made things really difficult for the green-white deck because so much of what it was trying to do was pump spell based. It was creatures fighting creatures.
Yeah.
So the ability just to make one of my creatures indestructible was such a threat, even when I didn't have any cycling cards. It's just the fact that it's there, and I've got cards in my hand and I've got mana up, and you have to respect it.
The fact that you cycle at instant speed.
Yeah.
You can attack and just sit there.
Yeah.
You can have 3 lands in hand, but they can't afford to take that risk. Yeah, I think that card and Horror of the Broken Lands.
Yeah.
Those are the 2 black creatures that you want to be prioritizing if you're in that cycling.
Yeah,
cycle to death.
They were probably my best 2 creatures outside of Regal Caracal as well.
I'm going to say that my worst card was Illusory Wrappings. Costs 2 and a blue for an enchantment aura, enchant creature. Enchanted creature has base power and toughness 0/2. I don't think this card is necessarily bad. I just came up against you where I didn't want to, for example, Illusory Wrappings, a fan bearer, doesn't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, that was more the case of I just didn't have anything worth the respect.
Even against Soul Stinger, that would kill it. If it had counters on it, kill it, and then you would kill one of my creatures, and I've 2-for-1'd myself. And then in the third match, couldn't target Glyphkeeper with it. Didn't want to target any Embalm creatures, because then they'd just chump and embalm them. So, I think
cards like this are never outstanding.
They're never outstanding.
But I'm usually happy to have one.
Yeah.
It's not a card where I'm really distraught to be running one, but it's not premium removal by any stretch. I
think, although maybe this is a boring card to pick as my best card, but it was just Cast Out.
Yeah.
Cast Out is a very, very good card. It got rid of a god. It got rid of one of your Soul Stingers. It gets rid of anything, in fact.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Can I jump off the Soul Stinger point there?
Yeah.
Because I think the most interesting interaction that I had all night was in my game against you, and it involved 2 Soul Stingers.
It did.
So I had my original Soul Stinger out, and you cast Compulsory Rest on it.
Yep.
My Soul Stinger didn't have any -1/-1 counters on it. I'd used it to kill some small creature just to get a 4/5 out. You'd essentially pacifismed it.
Yep.
And it was just sitting there. It was sitting there for quite a while. I think it was several turn cycles where it was just doing nothing. At which point I drew my second copy of Soul Stinger and played it, placing the 2 counters on the Soul Stinger that had been enchanted with Compulsory Rest. Meaning that I then had the option to sack it at any time for 2 mana to put 2 -1/-1 counters on one of your creatures, which I believe you missed.
Well, I mean, it didn't have any -1/-1 counters when I enchanted it, so I guess I was kind of just hoping that you wouldn't have another Soul Stinger or any of those many cards that allow you to put -1/-1 counters on it. No, it wasn't a consideration when I cast it. So.
Yeah, and it I think I killed a Vizier of Deferment by sacking it or something like that.
Yeah, Vizier of Deferment, another card that was impressive. We won't go into it too much.
We've covered it. We've covered it before, and
yeah,
it's on your screen now. Give it a read. Ooh. What do you think of it? So I think that wraps up how the draft went.
Yeah.
We enjoyed it. As ever, when you're winning, you love it. We'll get back to you next time when we completely scrub out and see how we feel about the format then.
Yeah, we need to live up to our name a bit more next time.
Exactly. We need to suck a bit harder and be a bit less lucky. But yeah, I think that's, in general, Amonkhet draft seems fun. There's
Yeah,
a lot
it
of
does.
different things you can do.
Definitely.
It seems quite complicated. I think it's one of those formats where you are going to get rewarded for thinking about interactions as you're making your picks.
Yeah.
It's not just vanilla creatures fighting vanilla creatures, because there's a bit more depth to it than that.
Yeah, definitely.
There's graveyard interaction, there's recurring creatures essentially.
There's Heck Bent.
There's Heck Bent.
Yeah.
There's cycling. Yeah, there's lots of little things going on that I can't wait to do more of. Let us know in the comments if you attended the first F&M draft last night. How did you do? Did you scrub out? We always love to hear about that. Tell us your bad beats. Tell us about your salt. Let the salt flow. If ever you needed an outlet, let the comment section be that outlet. And I will join you there.
Yeah.
And give us a like, give us a comment, give us a subscribe. We're now on Twitter.
Yeah.
At Thriving Scrubs. I believe we're the first few results on Google, as we Google ourselves so often. Just Google Thriving Scrubs, you'll find us.
We come up. We'll have some standard jank. We've got Champion of Ronas versus Embalmer's Tools.
We do. At some point down the line, that's coming with some janky deck techs. So far, I can tell you what my deck is right now, because I've put some work into it. It's 4 copies of Champion of Ronus and 4 copies of Ulamog, and that's as far as I've got.
Nice.
I'm working on it, but it's in the back of my mind. I'm constantly going over it.
The deck I've got, my current work in progress, the worst card in my deck is Embalmer's Tools.
That was always going to be the case.
And I feel like I'm not allowed to side it out, because that's against the spirit of
It
it.
has to stay in. I'm fully intending to main deck 4 copies of Manglehorn, so,
Yeah.
just for a
I'll
laugh.
be fine with that.
It'll be funny. That does it for today.
Yeah.
Let us know if you've got any thoughts, whatever it is. Doesn't even have to be Magic related. What are you thinking about? What's up with you? You having a good day? Looking forward to the bank holiday weekend? Good luck, have fun.
See you later, guys.
Bye.
Bye.